Welcome to the Walking Dead UK podcast. It's Entertainment Talks podcast for The Walking Dead World Beyond on AMC and Amazon. I'm your host Matthew. Joining me today, my co-host is David. How are you?
I'm very well, thanks.
Cool. So we're back with returning to the world of The Walking Dead, but with the second spin-off and the third show in total. So starting a new kind of venture here, if you will. New characters, some connections to the original show, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, as we go through. Certain helicopters that have popped up.
Yes.
that have taken away one of our favourite characters from the other show. But yeah, we're here today to talk about Season 1, Episode 1, the pilot called Brave. What do you think of the episode?
I enjoyed it. I mean, it's an interesting new take on the Walking Dead world. It's very much their spin on a YA version of the Walking Dead, I think. They're all teen characters that are the sort of leads in it. It's a different kind of setup than we've seen before because they essentially seem to be managing to live in a world which is not overly dissimilar to now. It just happens to be the compound they're surrounded by has lots of walkers in it. So, or empties, as they refer to them on this show. They always have a different version for the different areas. So, yeah, I mean, I thought it was an interesting opening start. It's got a good range of characters. There's a nice little mystery going on, a few nice little mysteries. I mean, we've been introduced to this, not only this new group, but there are apparently 3 different groups which make up this. They have this logo which is like 3 intertwined circles. So presumably we'll get to see more of that as well. Mm-hmm. It's an interesting series, given that we know already there are going to be 2 seasons of it, and that's it. So, they said it will consist of 2 seasons, so they obviously have a story specifically to tell with this. Presumably, somewhere along the lines, that's going to connect into other things, because that's the only reason I can think that you would maybe introduce this is to use some of those characters later on in the wider world, whether that's in Fear or whether that's in some of the other spin-offs that are coming up. I don't know, but
or in the Rick films in about 10 years when they get made.
Or in the Rick films eventually.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I thought it was an interesting start so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like the episode. I think this is a good combination of still very much having the core Walking Dead feeling, but feeling very different to the other 2 shows. Because if you look at Fear the Walking Dead and The Walking Dead, they've got some really similar things kind of going on in terms of, they're in these more woodsy sort of Georgia type of areas. This is in like a completely different place. They're very much in this established kind of community and everything. And I thought that gave a fresh kind of feel to things. Also, like you said, of course, they're focusing more on younger characters, which is something I kind of always wanted The Walking Dead to do in a way, because I've talked for probably a couple of seasons on the main show about like, you've got this young character and this young character and this young character. Let's like wait until they get older and have them be kind of the focus. I always like in certain stories the idea of like passing the torch kind of thing. Yeah. And like, okay, certain characters like sons or daughters or whatever, a bit like what they're trying to do with Arrow and that kind of stuff and some other sort of similar
shows. Not very
shows.
Successfully at the moment,
No,
but yes.
Right. Yeah, but I've always liked that idea of just passing the torch along to kind of a younger generation. And although this isn't really that, because we don't know these characters and are not connected to any characters that we know, it's sort of that idea but in a different way of doing it, because these are new characters to us, but they're very much kind of seemingly the next sort of generation kind of coming through. And they're all, how old would you say these characters are? Like 18, ish,
Well, no,
17.
because they're sort of 16, 17, 18, I think, is the sort of age range. I know one of the actors is definitely 17. So, yeah, 16, 17, 18, I think.
Yeah. The one kind of problem I've got a little bit is, so this episode is actually written by Scott Gimple, sorry, and Matthew Negrete, and Matthew Negrete is supposed to be the showrunner for this, which is a fairly good idea, because if you've looked at the Walking Dead credits over a good few years, he's been at least involved or has written quite a few
Yeah.
Walking Dead episodes, which I think is a good kind of, okay, he's got experience with the genre and with this show and what AMC's trying to sort of do. I could almost feel Scott Gimple's writing in this episode, just with certain slower scenes, certain like
Yeah.
I don't know, it's in there, it's definitely in there, and I think, yeah, I went to see who the director and writer on that was before I went to watch the episode, because I was preparing the draft for the episode for the podcast, and I remembered that Matthew was tasked with being the showrunner, and then I thought, okay, cool, we'll see what he's got to offer. We've seen Scott's work. We've now got Angela on the main show. I can't remember who the Fear showrunner is, but I'll look that up for when we return for that next week, or when I return for that next week. But I thought, okay, give Matthew a chance and all that, and he's been a writer on the show, and see what he can kind of do. And you sort of got like Scott Gimple's trying to attach himself to it, and it feels like it's getting in the way. I don't know, how did you feel about sort of the writing? Did you feel the Scott Gimple presence?
There were a few bits where it slowed down. I hadn't realised Gimple was one of the writers, but that would have explained it. Yeah, I mean, we make fun of Gimple a lot just because of the way his writing was pretty atrocious towards the end of the main Walking Dead, and it really needed Angela Kang to come in and sort that out. But I mean, as an overseer for the entire Walking Dead franchise, fine. You need a pair of eyes that sit over the top of everything. I think that's a good place for him to be. I would just rather he just kept his hand off actually writing anything.
Yeah, writing or show running or direct, any of them sort of like on-hand jobs.
Yeah, anything. I'd rather he be hands off, and that's why that's why it's a good position for the sort of chief creative officer or whatever he is of The Walking Dead. Fine, but yeah, I'd rather he wasn't actually writing anything. So yeah, there were a few bits. I didn't specifically spot anything, but because I hadn't realized it was him, but maybe going back and watching it, I might actually spot his work more directly then.
Yeah. I know this is a bit of a weird thing to say. I could kind of like feel the writing. There were certain scenes I was watching, I was like, okay, this is written by Scott Gimple. I could just kind of tell. And now that we've like peeled away from him in the main show, and we've had season 9, well, two full seasons since then of Angela, and I could just tell the difference. There's such a clear difference between the two of them.
Yeah.
But that was pretty much my only real problem in terms of the actual like plot and the characters and everything else. I didn't have too many issues. I thought the episode was 80 to 90% well paced. Again, there's the the Gimple sort of pacing stuff in there.
Yeah.
But I could see a little bit more where Matthew was. Which it's weird to talk about a showrunner who's got the same name as me. By the way, that's very strange. Just saying like Matthew's done a good job, and that's my name as well. But anyway.
Yes, just sound a bit like you're talking about yourself in the
right.
first.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. I have to get used to that. Only for 2 seasons, but still. Yeah, I could kind of feel where like his better pacing had kind of come in and that sort of thing. So yeah, I thought this was a good start. So have we got 20 episodes of this show then? If we're going for season 1 is 10, and then season 2 I assume would be 10?
Yeah, I think that's another 10. So I think there are 20 episodes of this. Weirdly, that means there are more episodes of the main show left. Then, even though nevertheless that's ending and that's only got one more season, there are more episodes of the main Walking Dead show left than there are of this spin-off. But yeah, that's fine. I'm okay with that. I like the fact that they pre-announced that this will be 2 seasons. You know what you're committing to. Then you know how many episodes it's going to be. You know that they are doing this to tell a particular story, and I quite like going into this with that in mind. So you're not going to be disappointed that it's suddenly cancelled. You know that they're going to bring it to a proper conclusion. That's actually quite good that they've announced that already.
Yeah.
And it's going to tell something specific that presumably will tie it into the wider world, and whether those characters then go on to, I don't know. I mean, given their ages, you might have them meet Judith at some point. You might have them, join up for some more teen adventures. You might have them pop up in the Carol and Daryl spin-off. They might go off and do something else entirely. I don't know, but I quite like that. They're sort of setting up this wider world.
Yeah, that's good. All right, let's get into a few of my notes. Just to kind of be clear about what we're doing here as well. We couldn't quite get hold of a recap because we're used to doing recap style sort of coverage for The Walking Dead, but I couldn't manage to actually get that, so I've written down just some notes, and then we'll go through the characters. Obviously, we got a brand new set of characters, so we'll talk about them. So let's get into that.
Hey there, I'm Aaron Holman, host of Eye to Eye, a weekly podcast talk show all about passion.
I have this passion and this fire within me that burns brighter than the fire around me.
Flow.
With performing, there's always a story to tell, whether it's my own or not.
And creativity.
I go, he's more than cute, he's creative.
All with an LGBT twist. Make sure to check out Eye to Eye, that's EYE, number 2, letter I. And rate and subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen in today.
I'm Christy.
And I'm Jackie.
And we are Killer Fun. We explore the intersection of crime and entertainment every other week.
For as long as people have been communicating, they have been talking about who did what to whom, and is that socially acceptable?
Because the boundaries of society,
crime,
and entertainment have always gone hand in hand.
The more salacious,
or weird,
the better. From books and movies
to television shows and games,
we look at how life and art imitate and inform one another.
And we can't get together and not laugh. So let's face it, there's going to be laughing.
Killer Fun is available anywhere you listen to podcasts, so join us.
If you'd like to get started with a domain name and a website today, just click on the link in the show notes and that will take you over to Koalu to get started. They also have a live support chat system that you can use, which is in the bottom right hand corner. So get started with a new website and domain name today with Koalu. Hey everybody, if you would like to get the ad-free versions of all of our podcasts and support Entertainment Talk along the way, all you need to do is head over to patreon.com/entertainment talk. Sign up either as a creator or as a Patreon, there's no difference there. That's just the option for either becoming a creator now or just staying as a patron for the moment. And then all you need to do is support us at the $1 level tier. That will get you access to all of the ad-free podcasts that we've done in the past, and get you access to all the ad-free podcasts in that month as well. So it's a great way to support us on Entertainment Talk and to get rid of the ads and get your ad-free podcasts. You can also become a patron at the $3 level tier. That gets you access to ad-free podcasts and allows you to redeem a review of a TV show or a film of entirely your choice. That's one per month for either a TV show or a film review, which is at the $3 level tier. As always, thank you very much for listening. Back to the show. Alright, so recently on Entertainment Talk, we do still have the Breaking Bad podcast coming out, by the way, on Wednesday. I'm not going to be stopping releasing those just because Walking Dead's back. There's only 2 episodes left to go anyway, well 3 including this week. This week's one is Season 1 Episode 5. There's 7 for total in the season, and we are still planning to do some kind of feedback podcast once all 7 episodes are out, so people could have seen all the episodes and listened to our thoughts on everything and given feedback in real time sort of thing. So look out for that in the future as well, but for the moment we're up to Season 1 Episode 5, and those will continue to come out on Wednesdays, so you can keep looking out for those. There's the Becoming Heisenberg podcast for Breaking Bad. The United cast, Man United were beaten 6-1 at home by Tottenham Hotspur. No, that's not an error, I'm not reading out the wrong thing. It was 6-1 to Tottenham Hotspur at Old Trafford.
Didn't Liverpool lose 7-2 to Aston Villa as well, apparently? I saw earlier.
They did, yeah, on the same day.
So that's slightly brightens it up, I guess, for you.
Maybe. But yes, it was 6-1 to Tottenham Hotspur, and that was very strange to actually type in 6-1 as well. But talked about that, talked about the obvious disgrace in performance and Harry Maguire and just all sorts of things that went wrong on that day. The red card, the injustice there, and yeah, all the other things as well. Also talked about the transfer talk as well. Man United did sign quite a few players on deadline day. Surprise, surprise. Edison Cavani signed, Alex Telles has signed, Palestri signed, and Diallo has signed as well. And previously, of course, we did purchase Donny van de Beek as well. So yeah, bit of panic deadline day buying, which is no surprise considering who owns us at the moment. So yeah, football's going to be off for a little bit, at least the Premier League. I think we play Newcastle on the 17th or the 20th or something like that. There's an international break, so yeah, the United cast will be on a break, and I think I need a bit of a break from it after losing 6-1 and watching the horror show. So that's that. Let's Play Sundays 55 for Crash Bandicoot 4. This is the third level that came with the demo, and this is the one where you play as Cortex as well. So some very interesting different stuff there, so you can check that out as well if you want to. Diabolical 7 still continuing. That's the Boys podcast on Amazon Prime. Season 2 episode 7. We've got the season finale episode this week. Just a reminder for that as well, the podcast won't be on Friday, it will be on Saturday, because Robert's going to be joining me because he's been asking to join throughout the season. So yeah, look out for the season finale podcast, season 2 episode 8 on Saturday. It has already been renewed for season 3 and a spin-off, so yeah, look out for all that in the future. Becoming Heisenberg podcast last week for 104. Don't skip review for season 1 of Stargirl. That's available on Amazon in the UK, and some combination of DC Universe, the CW, or HBO Max for the US. Just check those streaming services. Gaming Talk last week, we talked about Call of Duty Modern Warfare Season 6, the update for that, and all the different things that you're going to be able to get. The pre-orders are now live for the Xbox Series X and S, and for the PlayStation 5, and of course the all-digital version, so we talked about the situation there. And Amazon also announced a new game streaming service called Amazon Luna. We don't know much about it yet because they only just announced it, but we talked about that as well, so check all that out on entertainmenttalk.org and on podcast platforms. We are, by the way, going to be covering Walking Dead World Beyond, as I said couple of months ago in the announcement update podcast for The Walking Dead, and next week I'm going to be doing Fear the Walking Dead solo, because David doesn't watch that in, I guess, real time as it's released.
No.
You watch it later, don't you, on Amazon,
yeah,
so.
I am actually, it's taken me a while. I'm on almost to the end of, in fact, I think I've just finished season 4. I'm almost to the end of season 4 at the moment, so I am catching up with it, but I watch it on Amazon, which comes out sort of 6 to 12 months after the live release.
Yeah. But look out for Fear the Walking Dead and Walking Dead World Beyond podcasts as well. Introduction to the community is the first thing I got written down. So we see that they're established in this quite big community. I think what was her name? Iris. The therapist that dies later in the episode, she says something about there's like 9,000 people here.
Yes.
And you see this, this great big kind of community college sort of thing that we've got, most of which are red shirts. Obviously,
I mean,
that many characters, but
well, as we see towards the end of the episode, I mean, so this is referred to as the campus community, I think, which is obviously because they are on what looks to be a university campus. So, that's the campus community. We know that there is this secretive civic republic which has a base somewhere. They've talked about a city as well. And that being there as well. So and we know they're sort of New York-ish. That's where the city bit is. So, or certainly where the Civic Republic are based. I think I get a little confused, but so we got kind of some basis of who these people are.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
where they are.
So how do you feel about how they did for the introduction to the community? I thought it was quite a good sort of transition to that.
I mean, it sets up these sort of kids. I mean, it sets up pretty much like any other teen drama to a certain extent. I mean, you've got the high school student who's this aspiring scientist, and she's head of the student body, and is the sort of go-getting kind of one that's in control. Then her sister, who is the teen, and she's the rebellious kind of teen character. You've got a kind of shy. You've got the sort of shy, maybe not that bright teen. You've got the one that's highly intellectual and can analytical and work things out. So you've got four very specific archetypes with that, which I think is absolutely fine. I think it helps because you know what those archetypes are, what sort of characters they are at that point, and then you've got the older people as well, the sort of security officers,
which I thought looked really cool actually. So which almost do look like the characters that popped up in the Walking Dead finale, but with black outfits instead. Almost looked. I mean, that's any kind of standard big military armored kind of outfit anyway. So
they've got those cool kind of stick things with knives that flip out on the end as well.
That's pretty good. And with things like that as well, like how established you can see that this military group is, and they've got these different types of weapons. That's what I was talking about earlier in terms of the feel, the different feel between this and Fear and the Walking Dead, where with the Walking Dead, someone will probably pick up like a piece of glass from the floor or something like that, and you've got like a proper military in this show, so you already kind of get the differences of like survival and how they've established certain things as well. So because this is well into the apocalypse clearly, and things have been established. You've got this community in the military and all sorts of other things as well. There was also the other one as well, which the leader woman whose name is Elizabeth.
Yes.
And she's got this. She had this kind of like assault rifle, and it's got this little kind of
prong thing on the end.
Yeah, prong sort of thing. Yeah, and that sort of like shifts about and stuff. So I liked seeing that as well. As somebody who really likes specifically likes zombie sort of stories and that sort of thing. I'm always curious about like when you establish different communities like that, and then the ideas that you kind of come out with. So I thought that was good as well.
I mean, I've seen some people make this point before of like, if you're going to be fighting zombies, then why would you just carry a knife? I mean, if you're going to be fighting zombies and that's going to be the major threat, the most sensible thing to do, even if you just have a knife, is to get a stick and tie the knife to the end of it. Because the further you are away from the zombie, the better off you are.
Because even if it grabs the thing, you've still got some distance between.
That sort of makes more sense to me. But anyway.
Something which is very closely tied into the community is this like disaster day that kind of happened with this plane crash. I really liked what they did with the flashbacks. I thought it was actually quite well paced. I thought it was quite effective, and they sort of tease it a lot early on in the episode. I think it's Iris. She keeps having these bad dreams, which is one of the reasons she's seeing that therapist. And they keep kind of alluding to it and showing little sort of flashes of it. I think you could probably guess the first thing I thought of when we saw a plane. My mind went to Lost, obviously, because that's just what happens to me. But what do you think of them sort of tying that in? And this is like a really big, obviously it's a big deal because people died, and it was very tragic and stuff. And they got like a particular day for it. And the thing with that as well is because they're clearly much more well equipped than certain other characters in the other shows, where they've got like this whole almost like political sort of like speech thing that, or the sort of stand that they've got for the speeches and things like that, and treating it like a proper sort of Memorial Day type of thing. So what do you think about the event that's kind of taken place?
Sorry,
with the plane crash and that, and how that's
the plane crash sort of side of things. Yes, I thought that's sort of an interesting background setup. I mean, let's be honest, if Gimbal had full control of this show, you would have had an entire episode of that plane crash.
Yeah.
So, I'm glad they kind of put it in as inserts, and you kind of saw a little bit of background to that. I thought that was kind of interesting. We got to see a little bit of the background of that and what happened.
Yeah, because in terms of these being like new characters and things, that's really the only backstory we've got to tie to any of these characters. So I'm glad that they introduced that in the first episode and really kind of got across, this is a very traumatic world, and we know about the other characters in the other shows and what they've been through and stuff, and establishing that in the first episode. And they did pretty well with that pacing-wise, I thought was good. How did you feel sort of structure and pacing-wise they did with that? Because the way they sort of cut back with the flashbacks and the nightmares and things.
Yeah, I thought that was okay. And, I mean, what's sort of interesting is when they first announced this, you kind of got the impression that you weren't going to get that these were kids that really had zero experience outside the walls, that had not really had any, seen walkers particularly, or that certainly the way that it was pitched was they've been very protected, which clearly they have, and they haven't had anywhere near as much contact as everybody else that we've seen in the Walking Dead world. But as it transpires, they were, even as kids, we're not that far into the apocalypse that they weren't like babies or anything when this happened. They were 7 or 8 or something at the time. So we're about 10 years maybe into the apocalypse at this point, by the looks of things.
Yeah, it does almost feel like the same amount of time has passed in this that has in the main show, because we've had about just over 10 years in the main Walking Dead show.
Yeah, because I mean, the main Walking Dead show, you've got this weird thing where they had the big time jump in the middle of it as well.
Yeah. My next note is the CRM group, the Civil Republic Military, also known as CRM. Refers to a branching network of 3 communities of survivors. Now, I was looking up what this is because I wasn't sure if I was supposed to have already known, so I just looked it up anyway. So it says here that this was introduced in the 8th season of The Walking Dead, the main show. Now, I don't remember that happening. Do you remember that happening?
Not specifically by name? No.
No, me neither. I mean, the first time we kind of had it introduced was the Judith and Rick, Jadis and Rick helicopter scene from when he got taken away and all that. So
yeah, that's about
because we saw one of the helicopters that we saw about 3 of in this episode.
Yeah, and okay, so it was the group that Jadis, or Anne, as was her other name, but the great Jadis as she was known. Jadis was sort of
the one that she radioed, yeah.
Yeah, it was the ones that she sort of radioed and was they talked about, is he an A or is he a B?
Yeah, like a quality thing or something.
Yeah, as a sort of quality thing, and they were bringing in. She was kind of trying to bring in strong survivors, to bring people in. So that was that was part of the thing. One notable survivor captured by Anne and her people was Heath. Apparently.
Say that again.
Well, just reading some notes on it. One notable survivor captured by Anne and her people was Heath, a supply runner from the Alexandra Safe Zone who was separated from his ally Tara.
And
so there you go.
Forever.
Yeah, but I never know. He might actually show up. Apparently, he was picked up by those people. I didn't really realise that. Yeah. So there we go.
Yeah. That could be like a thing for season 2. I don't know. He might never show up again because no one even remembers him in the show anyway. So, but yeah, we saw a good few of those. Probably 3 or 4 of those helicopters in this episode. Rick wasn't in one of them, unfortunately. But that is where we meet. I said her name earlier. Elizabeth. She's the leader of this group. What do you think of like seeing them fully, I guess, now, and they've got like the military people there and everything?
Well, I mean, clearly there's something nefarious going on, as we know that they're that group that we're clearly taking survivors and bringing them in. And from the events at the end of the episode, something seems to have gone very, very wrong. So, yeah, I mean, they're not as benevolent as maybe they come across as, and the 4 children, particularly the 2 girls, don't seem to trust them after they get that message from their father that says it's not safe. And he's sort of secretly passing those messages off. So I'm very interested to see where they go with that, and who these people actually are, because whether they're properly military connected, whether they were what they kind of came out of, I'm really interested to see where that goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would just say as well, just before anyone asks me, so I'll answer the question before I know someone's going to ask me, because obviously I've read the comics and stuff. I don't think this group has got anything to do with the group we got introduced to at the end of the season 10 finale. They seem like a completely different group. So I could be wrong about that at some point in the long run, but they seem to be like a completely different group. So do you think they're a different group? This military, as opposed to the soldiers in white that we saw in the season 10 finale.
There may be some connection there. I don't think there's a direct connection there. I mean, I don't think it's like... I doubt this is exactly the same group. We know that that's the Commonwealth in the main show.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, they may fold them both together, but and it may be that this group has had some dealings with this collective, but I mean, do we know who the 3 alliance of 3 are? Because I
don't remember them being mentioned in the episode, but she did say.
Oh yeah, they mentioned. Yeah. So yeah, there's. Yeah, so it's the Civic Republic, where nobody knows where they are. There's a city in Portland and a city in Omaha, in the Omaha safe zone, apparently. And then there's satellite things like this campus colony, who aren't one of the main 3. Okay. So I mean, it's possible. Mainly, I don't know my geography very well, but
yeah, I don't know my American geography, so
no,
I couldn't tell you how close those places are to each other.
Portland, Oregon. I mean, I wouldn't have thought either of those are close enough to be this place, because given the geography of where they are, I think Oregon's. Yeah, I would have thought that Oregon's further. Yeah, no. So Oregon's like right over on the west, or Portland. Yeah, Portland, Oregon's right over on the west coast. So that's miles away. Mm-hmm. I know where Omaha is.
Yeah, but we'll see later if they get
Nebraska. Okay, so yeah, Nebraska's maybe close enough. Possibly, I don't know.
Yeah. Don't know. The next thing I got is the characters. I thought we could just kind of go through them and talk about them, because we kind of mentioned them, but we haven't gone through them. So I'm just going to read out their sort of descriptions. I know they're all brand new to everybody, so we're going to have to get used to their names. You've got Elia Royale as Iris Bennett, a smart high school student and aspiring scientist. She's the one who was going to see the therapist who died in the episode. You've got Alexa Mansour as Hope Bennett. She's the rebellious sister. Those are the 2 sisters that we've got, the main ones. Just on Hope, by the way, I really like the when she gets into that underneath part of the truck, the sort of storage part of it, and that zombie gets attached to it.
Yeah,
I thought that was great. I didn't think she was gonna get bitten or die, but it was just a cool little sort of way to kind of start the episode. I thought that was good. But yeah, she's introduced. Then you got Hal Cumpston as Silas Plaskett, a shy teenager who was referred to the campus colony after committing a violent offence. Then you've got Elton, an analyst, and intellectual 15-year-old. You've got Felix, a security officer at the campus colony. Huck, a security officer at the campus colony. We saw them two together in a couple of scenes. They were painting those zombies blue, or at least one of them was.
Yeah,
and
looks like there's some way of
showed up later. Sorry,
tracking them. I mean that's something that we're seeing, which they're exploring more in this show than they've done before, which is kind of, they're not having to deal with just surviving. They've got so you're seeing a lot more of the sort of research and them, they were painting them to track migration patterns, which is the sort of thing you do with birds and stuff, and animals. So that I thought was kind of interesting, because they're being able to get into this sort of, the science behind it of, how do you explore and examine the zombies and learn to deal and live with it to a certain extent,
Yeah, because you've always, no matter how established you are as a community, and what resources and whatever you've got, there's always the danger of if one of these students dies from something, or someone they get bitten from somewhere else, and you've got one zombie let loose in that community, they bite someone else, and then they bite things can still quickly fall apart if people die by accidents or other different things.
Then, as we saw with the therapist, they have things like bars on the doors.
I thought that was a good idea.
Which was so they've thought about ways of making it as secure as you possibly can, and safe, which is something again that we've not really seen before. There's an established community. They've got if somebody dies in their room, they're effectively locked in their room. You could have somebody that has a tragic accident, but the chances are there are enough people around that if, I don't know, somebody falls off a building or something, or has a heart attack in the middle of the square, there is likely to be somebody that will be able to call for help. There are enough people about in that community that somebody would be able to raise the alarm and have them put down before their turn. So, you make it as you can't be 100% safe, but it's unlikely. The biggest threat is somebody dying in their sleep, and if everybody's locked in their rooms at night, then there's less of a issue with that.
But we had those two who were sort of with each other, Huck and Felix, and then we got Elizabeth, who I've mentioned a few times, who we saw as well. She's the leader, Elizabeth something, the lieutenant colonel. Is that what that says? Yeah, of the colonel. Sorry, of the Civic Republic military. So the leader of the group, and then there's a bunch of recurring characters sort of listed. So they do set off with Iris, Hope. Is it Silas and Elton at the end?
Yes.
Because Felix and Huck were looking for the four that have gone away, and then Elizabeth was dealing with this other field or something at the end of the episode.
Yeah, it looked at the end of the episode to me like basically the entire campus colony had been wiped out. It looked like I that's what I took from it, but I could be wrong about that. But so those people left, those 5 people,
right? Because there was a letter coming through about some sort of danger, wasn't there? On the printer thing.
So those 4 kids and the 2 security officers left, and then it looked like the colonel had basically massacred the entire colony. That's certainly what it seemed to me.
All of it or a portion of it? Because it looked like a smaller area.
Well, but I don't
know.
I certainly gave the impression that she just killed everybody. So
yeah. So I do find it interesting with let's move on to the actual end of the episode, because we've pretty much talked about everything else. So these 4 set off. One of them's looking for their dad in New York or something.
Yeah, the sisters are looking for their father, who the sisters are looking for their father, who has been taken by the military has agreed to go with the military because he's apparently a scientist, and he's been communicating with the girls and sends them a message saying it's not safe. So they decide that they're going to go out and try and find him. and Silas decides that he wants to come along because why not? And Elton has been trying to sort of go out and explore the world a bit more, and has been going out to explore the world, and has a very natty corduroy suit that apparently is bite proof. So he's gone out in that with them as well, because he wants to like experience the world outside a bit more. So though you've got those four out there, and then you've got Felix and Huck, who are the two security officers that go chasing after them.
Yeah, interesting little premise to finish the episode with. You got these four that are on the road now, the two that are sort of chasing them, and then Elizabeth, who's doing what she's doing. So
yeah.
Do you think they'll go back to this community place at some point?
I'm not sure at this point. I don't know exactly what's going to happen moving forward. I thought that was an interesting place to end it if Elizabeth has indeed massacred the entire campus. I mean, presumably they won't necessarily go back there at this point, but I don't know. And it's not clear why she's wiped out this entire colony.
That's the other thing as well. Yeah.
Because I don't see a purpose behind that at the moment, but presumably there was one. So
yeah. But very curious to see how these four youngsters get on now that they're on their own, basically. In out in the wild. So we shall see. We don't have any feedback at the moment, but hopefully we will get some during the course of the season. I just wanted to speak a little bit about the schedule as well, because it sort of changed a bit unexpectedly.
Yes.
So they've got is it called AMC Plus now? Because every streaming service is called Plus now.
AMC
and
Premiere
eventually
or
Netflix
Plus
will be called
or...
Netflix Plus, and Amazon will be called Amazon Plus. I'm joking. But yeah, the AMC, what it used to be called Premium or Plus or whatever it is now, they are releasing both Walking Dead and World Beyond early. I'm going to assume they're doing the same thing with Fear. And Amazon basically were allowed to release their episode the next day after the AMC Plus airing, but then on normal AMC it still aired on Sunday, so did The Walking Dead. And then Fox UK had the Monday Walking Dead episode, and then I watched this World Beyond episode yesterday and watched the main Walking Dead on Monday.
Yeah, I did that just in case there was some connection between the two. I don't think there was actually, but I thought there might be, so I decided to hold off watching the first episode until yesterday, or till Monday actually. I watched it on Monday.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I'll just watch them on Fridays.
Okay. See, I'm gonna wait a little bit longer than Friday. I know the episodes come out on Friday. I'm gonna watch them on, I think, Monday or Sunday maybe, just because I want to watch it a little bit closer to when we do the podcast still on Wednesday, because we are still going to be staying on the Wednesday schedule. So just sort of keep our schedule staying as normal as what it was. So just keep an eye out for that. But yeah, anyway, like I said, with the feedback, if you've got any thoughts, feelings, questions, comments, concerns about any of the Walking Dead shows, or really anything related to Entertainment Talk, Matthew at entertainmenttalk.org, Twitter eTalkUK, there's a contact page and information in the show notes. What do you think of the start of the new show? What do you think of the different feel? Did you feel the Gimple presence in the episode? It would just be nice if he kind of left Matt alone to work on the show. So we'll see how it goes. But yeah, we'll see if he writes the next episode. I don't know. So we'll see. But let us know your thoughts, feelings, and everything for all the Walking Dead shows and everything else. In the meantime, you can find everything else that we do on entertainmenttalk.org. Lots of stuff at the moment. Gaming Talk, Breaking Bad, The Boys. No films at the moment because films are being pushed backwards.
Yes.
Over and over again. But plenty of content in the meantime. And of course, you can listen to me complain about Manchester United's defence when we let 6 goals in. So there's that as well. But yeah, keep your eyes on entertainmenttalk.org for your TV, video game, film and Man United coverage. Apart from that, you can find David on geektown.co.uk, geektown.co.uk if you'd like to find out the latest TV and film news, up-to-date reliable TV and film news to find out if, when and where your favourite shows are coming back. Even if they've been renewed, doesn't mean that they're actually safe. unfortunately. But you can check out geektown.co.uk, and of course listen to Geektown Radio on Tuesdays. This week's episode is out and available to be listened to. You can of course search for Geektown on iTunes and podcast services. Bex is streaming daily at the moment over on Twitch if you want to get involved with the fun chatter and the gaming and all sorts of cool fun stuff that she's doing at the moment. That's Trista Bytes on Twitch, Trista Bytes on Twitch. Go and search for that and follow her over there. That will be really great as well. Word of mouth, you can tell people that you know about the website, iTunes feeds, David's work and Bex's work. Social media, you can share them on Facebook and Twitter, and if you can, in different Facebook groups. We are as well on Patreon. You can have a look at the $1 and $3 level tiers for instant ad-free podcast and review options as well. Amazon affiliate link, if you're buying stuff on Amazon, we can get a small cut. It won't cost you extra. And of course search for Entertainment Talk on iTunes and podcast services as well, or entertainmenttalk.org. And also look out for Let's Play Sundays. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week for episode 2, and we'll see where this show continues to go, and it will only have 18 episodes of it left. So,
Yes.
yeah, we'll see how that goes. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.